First of all, I've missed you two so much. I haven't seen you or talked to you since a retreat, and I
Yes,
missed our
I know.
group. That
Hard to
retreat was
believe.
amazing, and I'm
I'm
so
so
happy
happy.
to be here. And I just emailed you, Todd, to say yes for the November retreat for me. I'm
Amazing.
so ready.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, but I really, really missed you. So I want to ask about obsession because I have
Mhm.
been deep in 4 and 5, which is the wanting and not wanting,
Yeah.
because I wrote this book manuscript and with a lot of grace and my friend Barbara Fox, who's here today, my dear
Oh,
friend,
wonderful, Barbara. Yeah. Yeah.
I I had the opportunity to send it to the publisher I'd most like in the whole world to publish it. And so she's
Oh,
had it now for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 days. And there are times I let go because I know it's not my book. I know I don't have control. I know all that. And then there like twice I've gone so deep into obsession of wanting and that I've like given myself a headache and not been able to sleep. And I'm like doing all the exercises and it just was twice just completely out of hand. And even though I could tell myself in those moments, look, it's not even your book. It's time to let it go.
yeah.
It's had so much grace around it. It's in someone else's hands. It's all that. I couldn't, I just could. Anyway, that's my question is what
Yeah.
about, and I think it's about obsession. So that's what I'd love
Yeah.
help with.
Well, the first question is what is actually coming up when you are, the book is away, it's being read, it's being seen,
Hmm.
what's happening with it, and you're lying there trying to sleep or you're trying to do other things. What exactly is your experience of that obsession in those moments?
What's happening is my mind is so crazy. And then I'm trying to get in touch with my body because I'm thinking of you two going, okay, what do you feel? What do you feel? And I can like for a second get in touch with my body, but it's like all the energy's up here. And then it's like, um, I really admire this publisher so deeply. I mean, so deeply. And then I think I don't know if it's fear of rejection, if I have so much admiration for her. If she doesn't like it, I'll be like, oh my, I don't know. I don't even know.
Well,
It's like just total chaos.
but that's what I think is important is starting to untwine that ball of chaos and
Yeah.
start to see are there thoughts about is it a fear of rejection of what happens if are you having
Yeah.
fantasy stories about it getting picked up and published and having the accolades that she really loves it and is praising it in some way are you feeling all of the emotions and going through all of the gamut of experiences both positive and negative what what is really happening?
In those moments when I'm freaking out, it's more the negative. It's more
Okay.
the fears of if she doesn't like it, I just think she's so skilled. That would scare me. It's like, oh God, then I'm gonna have to go through this process to find someone else. Um and yeah, it's like I just get frozen in this fear, basically.
What purpose is that serving in those moments?
Well, I don't think anything. I mean, that's what I mean, I can't imagine what it's doing because I know it's not, I know it's just all made up and it's,
Yeah, to me, you're a little bit
tell
too.
me,
Yeah, you're a little bit
Jim.
quick when
Okay.
when when you're jumping that because it's like in. I think underneath all that, there's an expectation buried, but you don't want to admit
Yeah.
that there's an expectation buried. So you
Yes.
jump over it and going like, what if she doesn't like me? And what? So there
Yeah.
is like an expectation of,
Yeah.
and the wonderful thing about writing a book is that everything is within our control. It's like making a video,
Yeah.
like everything is within my control. The
Yeah.
moment I publish it, it's out of my hands.
Yeah.
I have done my due diligence. I have made notes. I have pondered. I have researched. I have done all of that. And then I let go and it's completely out of my hands. And how it's
Yeah.
received has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with anything that I can pull or push, or I have no control over it anymore. And it's the same with the book. You don't have any control over it.
Yeah.
In that, there are so many small
Yeah.
bubbles
Mhm.
that can be looked at. Have I done enough? Is this usually something that you always think about? Have I researched it? Have I pushed it? Have I been all of that? Every single door in that needs to be looked at because all of them have like small hallways that is going into expectations, you know?
Also, I just want to say before we leave that point, is there something about you keep kind of putting her up on a pedestal where you really
Yeah.
value her judgment. And if she doesn't like it, what does it say about the
Yeah.
book? What does it say
Yeah.
about your judgment? What does it say about,
Yeah.
is there
Your
and
abilities.
yeah, is there an underlying
Yeah.
thing
All
too?
that's in there. All everything you've all just said is in there. All of it. Yeah.
And instead of just jumping all of them, I would
Yeah.
recommend you to really write all of them down to get a good look
Okay.
at every single one of them. And then after that, look at your expectations. What
Yeah. And
expectations do you actually have? So when she picks it up and going like, Susan, this is amazing. That is one expectation. What if that doesn't happen? What if that
yeah.
does happen? What,
Yeah.
because every single of those have small worlds of a full life in it, if you understand what
Yeah.
I mean. And every single one of those you can kind of, explore. Like, what I mean with a little bubble with a full world
Yeah.
with full of life. If she picks it up and
Uh,
going, Susan, you are amazing. In that, if she says that, a lot of things happen in you then and then and then and then
yeah.
and then a lot of fantasy stories, and then I will be,
Yeah.
and she will be, and then I will write another, and then so there's a full
Yeah.
world in that you need to explore. Also,
Yeah.
if it says, sorry, this is not for us, then
Yeah.
that has another full world in
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Does that mean about you? What does that mean about your relationship to her?
Yeah.
What does you think that she thinks about you? All of that can be explored as well.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
so many unexplored
Yeah.
areas, and that is why you have that feeling of
Overwhelm.
chaos. Yeah, of
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like Todd said, one big ball of chaos, and you need to really pull the thread on every single one of them.
Because there is, like you've been saying, there is something there for you to discover in each of those, and
Mm.
it's not that you only have to examine the negatives and not the
No.
positives, like you were saying. It's
Yeah.
really all ripe for investigation and going a little bit deeper. And so what does it mean for you? What really feel into, if any one of these is the case, if any one of these happens, really feel what the implications of that are. How is that how is it felt in the body? What does the mind immediately do with it? What are the assumptions that then draws out? Because it might not be just the first thing that shows up. If she says, "Yes, I love it," or if she says, "Well, yeah, I think we're interested, but I think it's going to need some work," or whatever, however it is. In any of those, there is something which might lead you to one feeling, one uh, train of thoughts about the book itself, about the value of it, and um, by
Extension.
extension the value of you, and all the work that you have put in, and the fact that you are submitting this, even if it's not your book. Your reputation and all of that is invested in with this book, right? You're tied to it, for better or worse. And so all of that is like parsing out how much is about the book and how much is about you as a
Oh.
deeper piece of all of this is going to be really important. So every time that you get to one of those insights about, oh, yeah, but then if she says no, then I'm going to have to go down. Well, now we got to find a new publisher and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
What is that? Bring that back to you. Take the book off of it, take the practical side of it off, because either you're going to find new publishers or you're not, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
a one or the other situation. Either she accepts it or she rejects it.
Yeah.
Either you find new publishers or you don't. So the question is, if there is something that is making this into an obsession, something that makes this deeply personal and something that you're kind of chewing on and you can't get over, find out what is it about you that this is saying, not about the book itself, because again, that's going to take care of itself. It either gets published or it doesn't. How is this relevant to you?
Does that go back to like the self-worth versus self-esteem in a way, or not
Mm.
really? Like, because you're
Yeah,
saying,
it can.
It-
It can. It absolutely can.
but don't hold the expectations of where it's going to go. Just kind
yeah.
of follow that thread and be like, okay, how does this relate to me? Like, what about this feels personal? What about this feels like it has that barb that's like, hooking into me and I can't get it out?
So there, okay, so there's like might be like 100 bubbles out. I mean, like
Mhm.
this
Oh,
is a
yeah,
big
yeah.
one for me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I mean, I can
Yeah.
feel like that because when you say this and this and this, I go, yeah, 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 all that.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I just take each one, I write them all down, and then I
Yeah.
take each one and I just sit with that one. What does this mean?
Really,
Is that
really
right?
explore, yeah, and
Like,
see, because the whole thing about the fourth feather, when we have desire for something, something we want to be different, there
Yeah.
is me here now, where
Uh-huh.
reality lies. But then
Uh-huh.
we have built this small world in a little bubble next to us, and we believe that little bubble can be reality, which it can
Uh,
never be. There can only be this, right? There's
mm-hmm.
only this Susan right now, and now,
Right.
and now. But what you're doing is you're moving yourself from here because there's something uncomfortable going on in you right now. There is something that is being awoken that has been lied, hidden dormant in you for a very, very long time. And you can divert from that by creating a little world that is more wonderful.
mm,
Even a
Or even more scary.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's a little world where you're being rejected and nobody likes you.
Yeah.
That can even be better than how it feels to be in your body right now.
All right. Interesting. Okay.
So the only place that is here is now. When you divert and you create all of those small bubbles, you're not here. So also notice the benefit of that. Like Todd, he said,
Yeah.
what are you
mm,
actually gaining from that?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
just so hard to imagine that something's worse than giving myself a headache from obsessing, but I guess, some part of me thinks that is better, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because the huge advantage with a headache is that you can't think.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
When you have a migraine or when you have a headache, you can't think because there's so much pain in the head, so you can't think anymore. So it's kind of like putting
It sh
everything on pause. Yeah,
it shuts it down.
yeah.
Okay, good.
I think you were also onto something before, though, because when you had said about the control, and that's one thing where when you are obsessing in your mind, right? You went to, okay, if she rejects it, you went into problem solving mode. Well, then I have to find a
Mm,
publisher. And then you can start
yeah.
finding other publishers. So you're back in the control seat. Even when you're
Oh,
imagining the
Good
worst
point.
case scenario, it's giving you control back.
Yeah.
Now I can
uh-huh.
now I can find another publisher. I don't want to do it, and I'm going to complain about it, and it really sucks that I have to do it, but at least now you have something that you can toil with. Whereas having it, like you
That's really
said,
good point.
completely out of your hands, you have no control now, and that is
Oh.
way worse than
These are my 2 questions, yeah. Yeah, because I think with limbo, I'm always bad at limbo. I'm very
Yeah.
yeah.
bad at it. I'm much better like problem solving. And then the
Yeah.
other thing is, what is it that like just hold on to control so much when I know it's not even true? Like I know I don't have control, and then I'm just trying so desperately to hold on to control. So those are my 2 questions, limbo and control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are
but
my
but but
follow-ups.
I think it's a bit like what you saw yourself, like what Suni was talking about, that there's that, when I'm in control, at least I know what direction is going, and that's comfortable. Even
Uh-huh.
though it's uncomfortable being in control, it's still comfortable having control.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
so that is much more comfortable, and that's what I said with having a bubble where she rejects us and all that can be
Uh,
better than how it feels not having control and everything is out of your hands right now.
yeah.
Because
And
where,
so oh, go ahead.
go on, no, go on.
No, no, so I just wanna ask, so when I feel that need for control, it's just the usual practice, like, okay, what am I feel or how do I when I because I can feel that, like, that trying to control. So then I just pause and I just go, "Okay,
Yeah, the
how
whole
uncomfortable do I feel?"
yeah, because the whole idea of having control is ludicrous. You do not have any control of
Yeah,
anything.
and I
But
even know that
yeah, yeah,
on one level.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's it,
But
right? But it's not a holistic knowing that we have. It's like part
Yeah.
of this Susan experience knows that, gets it, fully
Yeah.
understands it, but there are other parts that are really scrambling because
Oh,
that has been the go-to
survival.
survival
Yeah.
mechanism or coping mechanism.
uh-huh.
So, of course, it's still going to be online that there's something now that feels really uncomfortable or unstable. And so, what do? Same thing we've always done. We control the situation. We jump into the driver's seat. We do what needs to be done. When you don't have a steering wheel to grab onto, that's a really uncomfortable situation. Now you're in a car with no ability to steer it whatsoever. So then, what do?
Yeah.
How does that feel? Sorry, I kind
We
of jumped in
no,
and
no, it's completely okay because it's back to what we talked about at the workshop, that when you have had, an upbringing where where you your survival is dependent on you controlling the outcome. And as
Hmm.
kids, if we have grown up in dysfunctional families, we have learned different ways to survive, and that is how our nervous system has been um, wired. So it's how clearly you survive. It's by taking the driver's seat. It's about, controlling an outcome. So there won't be that big repercussions right now because you are in control of it. And that has given you that delusion that you actually can control anything.
Yeah.
That because being a kid and really truly realizing that there's nobody in control, there's nobody behind the steering wheel, there is no bloody steering wheel, that is too scary. So we need
Yeah.
some kind of safety and security, and therefore we create this made up story that I can be in control and I can, take the reins and I can decide how things are going.
And so it can be useful, on one hand, to be with the discomfort, that ambiguity of being in limbo, not knowing what's going to happen, and having no ability to manipulate the outcome in any direction. That is very potent to sit with that and feel the discomfort and recognize that you can be with that discomfort. It's maybe not the most comfortable experience in the world, but it's doable. Get really curious about what the actual experience is. Feel it, feel it, feel it. But then the other side is that um, investigate what it is that you think control really is. Like, say, even if she, in this case, she declines the book, so then you feel like you have to take control and send it to somebody else. You don't have any control over whether that person likes it or not.
Uh,
Even in the intermediary steps, interim steps,
yeah,
in in
intermediary.
between. Thank you. It just suddenly sounded wrong. In in the
Apple, apple, apple,
apple,
apple,
apple,
apple,
apple.
apple.
In the steps in the steps in between, just see, did you choose which publisher it was going to be? Obviously, there's, a body here that's going through a list on the computer, and, you'll hear thoughts popping up and pros and cons and all of that. But use all of those as those little agency inquiries to see, at what point do I create this thought about this publisher being better than that publisher?
Yeah. Yeah.
At what point did I decide to actually sit down and type each individual letter into the keyboard to do the query? Each point of that can be another little inquiry into how much agency is actually behind all
And
of
I had
that.
no agency here. It came to me, which was just, it was also all gray. So it was like, yeah, it's just,
Nice.
I think I think I have never, when my other question was about limbo, I think I've just never really sat with ambiguity that much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I've sat with grief, I've sat with other things, but I just think I've always just so gone into action and trying to
Mhm.
control things that I think
Yeah.
it's, I think I just don't think I've ever done what you're suggesting, which is just
But
sit in that total
yeah,
discomfort of ambiguity and
yeah,
lack of
exactly.
control.
Exactly. And it's only because you haven't had that emotional maturity until now to
Mhm.
actually be able to sit with it and allow the body to feel what it feels, allow the body to experience and express, and then that's it. So therefore we are running away from it our
Yeah.
entire lives to avoid
Yeah.
sitting with that ick. that we think is going to end the world. But it's not though. It's just a sensation in the body that is really, really old, and a nervous system that has been wired in a different way. That's it.
As I realized too, it's like she says yes or no, and then I'm back. Yeah, I mean, it's endless unless I do this work. It's
Yeah.
endless.
Yeah.
This desire to control and the lack of control and the
And
inability to
it's
sit with that.
probably, yeah, yeah. And it's probably the only theme that you ever have to work with. Because it tends to be that we have one theme, and that theme is
Uh-huh.
coming up in every single aspect of our lives, all the time, everywhere, always. Then there's a potluck, and you take the reins on who is cooking what, and then Janet gets sick, and you cook her recipe as well. It's like that. It's like everything in your life. It's in your work, it's in your family, it's everywhere. You're always the one taking the reins because that's part of your nervous system.
Yeah, my survival pattern. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's just use this opportunity now to sit in that ambiguity and explore, okay, what is actually happening? If I'm not running into a future scenario where it's rejected or accepted, what is
Hmm.
actually happening right now? There's a bum in the seat, there's feet on the
Yeah.
floor, there's an inhalation
Yeah.
and an exhalation. What else is happening? That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Uh,
might even find, sorry, I was just going to say, you might
no, no,
even
go ahead.
find that after the initial conditioned response to sitting with the ambiguity, we have that like conditioning. Every time I feel this thing, I tense up and do some distracting maneuver to get away from it. But if you can wait through that and just be with the discomfort for a bit, you might actually find that you start to actually enjoy that feeling of
Mm.
ambiguity. It doesn't
Oh, wow.
it doesn't mean it's always going to be something that's uncomfortable, that you're always going to have that reaction. It's just something that has been there in the past, and then you've had this habitual deflection from it that has just become your go-to move. Now, if we take that off the table for a bit and you just sit with what's there, you might find that actually what's underneath that is quite nice. There is, it's why we talk so much about, with the 10th fetter especially, coming into that resting in ambiguity, just being in that kind of light openness of not knowing, recognizing that you can't do anything, all
No.
you can't know, like all of that is itself a freedom. But in the past, when that was seen as being some sort of a danger, you couldn't feel it as a freedom. You feel it as a threat. So now you're still responding to it as though it's a threat. So this is a new opportunity now to take what was once something that was really scary and see that actually it's quite lovely if you can keep yourself calm, breathe, feel, let the nervous system settle down so that it doesn't feel like it's under an immediate threat. And then find that just the presence of ambiguity is not in itself a threatening or dangerous or scary thing. It can actually be quite free, quite peaceful, and quite lovely.
So when it happened twice, really in this week, the one time I calmed myself down, well, I was just praying and I was trying to feel my body. I was trying to do all that stuff. And finally I thought, I don't even want control. I don't even
Yeah.
want it. I mean, it's not my book anymore. I don't even, and then that, but I don't know how I got to that point, but it was like, it's kind of just reminded me what you said, like, I don't want control. You know, I want, I'm very devotional, so I want the divine to
Yeah.
take this book. I
Yeah.
want it to
Yeah.
be something bigger than me, not my little book.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's so maybe I should, I'm only through the fifth fetter, so maybe I should get to the 10th fetter. Maybe I should skip ahead. But
Bad.
and so that's why limbo is so uncomfortable for me, is because it's so much about ambiguity.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is that right? Because I've
Yeah.
never been good at limbo, but I'm gonna get really good at it, and I'm gonna report back that I'm very
You're
good at
Absolutely.
gonna
it.
take the control of ambiguity.
Yeah. That's
What
right.
did you say, Pranav?
I'm gonna take control of ambiguity.
Yes, I'm gonna do all the steps. I'm gonna do them right in order. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
them right on time, and I'm gonna get there. Exactly, exactly. That was a good one. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
No,
you
thank
so much.
you.
So good seeing you.
Absolutely
Yeah,
love
I'm
it.
so
Yeah.
happy to be here.
Yeah.
So great to see you all.
Yeah.
Likewise.
So good. Thank you
Uh,
so much.
Thank you, Susan. Good luck with it. Keep us
Yeah.
posted.
Yeah.
Thank
Keep
you.
us posted.
I will. I will.